Oh boy, this is Josh Olson and it's Trailers from Hell, and maybe, baby, we're going to rave on and speak some words of love about the Buddy Holly story. That'll be the day.
Just you know why.
Religious leaders say he's corrupting the youth of America.
Why you and I.
Psychologists feel he's creating mass hysteria.
This is Gary Busey in the role that made him a star. He got nominated for an Oscar, and rightly so. It's kind of shocking when you look at it now because Busey is such a large guy. He's so massive, then Buddy Holly was so slight. But they caught Busey just at the right point. He still was slender and lithe enough to play the part, and he pulls it off beautifully. It's a great performance. This is one of the first rock and roll movies, if not the first, by which I mean non-concert films, that recorded the music live on set as they shot the film. The actors were all musicians. Gary Busey, of course, was on vocals and guitar. Charles Martin Smith was on bass, and Don Stroud played drums. And they play Buddy songs on camera, and they were really, really good. The nice advantage to shooting it that way is you actually catch kind of little mistakes that they make, and it just adds to the veracity of the whole thing. It really feels real. The problem with a lot of rock and roll biopics is that most musicians and artists tend not to live very eventful external lives. A perfect example of that would be, say, Buddy Holly. He was a guy with a perfectly normal life who just happened to conceive and record some radical, revolutionary, world-changing music, then got on the wrong plane and died. What makes Buddy Holly remarkable is the amazing music. He was the first rock and roller to write, arrange, and produce his own stuff. His life was not so much. He grew up, had some nice parents, met a nice girl, fell in love, got married. And yet somehow the interesting thing about this film is they managed to tell Buddy's story in a way that makes it compelling and interesting without changing the facts particularly. I don't really know how they did it, and I kind of wish they did, because theoretically I write and make films myself, and they seem to have cracked the code. Part of it, though, is Busey's performance. He's absolutely amazing. He inhabits Buddy Holly. The great music certainly helps. A personal note, the very first rock and roll concert I ever went to in my life was Bruce Springsteen in Philadelphia, Darkness on the Edge of Town tour. And I had just seen the Buddy Holly story. And I knew a little bit about Holly going in, but I walked out a huge fan. And a couple weeks later, I was at the Spectrum in Philly, having the most amazing experience of my life at one of the greatest shows I've ever seen. And about halfway through the show, Bruce brought out Gary Busey, and they played Rave On together. And it's still one of the greatest things I've ever seen in my life.